What if the most extraordinary voice you ever hear belonged to the most ordinary person in the room? Not a trained performer. Not someone chasing fame under bright lights. Just a man in a work uniform, pushing a mop down a quiet hallway, long after everyone else had gone home. For decades, nobody knew what he was capable of. Then one night, he stepped onto a stage in front of millions. And the whole world finally understood. This is the story of Richard Goodall, the singing janitor who reminded everyone that dreams don't come with an expiration date. To understand just how remarkable this story is, you have to picture the place where it began. Terre Haute, Indiana, a modest, working-class town in the American Midwest. The kind of place where people know their neighbors, where life moves at a steady pace, and where hard work isn't a slogan. It's just how you live. And in one of the middle schools there, for years and years, a janitor quietly did his job. He mopped the floors. He cleaned the cafeteria after lunch. He set up chairs, emptied the trash, and made sure the building was ready for hundreds of kids the next morning. His name was Richard Goodall, and to most people who passed him in the hallway, he was simply the friendly man who kept the school running. But here's the thing about ordinary people. Sometimes they carry something extraordinary inside them, a gift the world just hasn't heard yet. And Richard had a gift, a voice big enough to fill a stadium. He just needed the courage and the chance to let it out. Music had always been part of Richard's life, not as a career, not as a dream he chased across the country, but as something private and personal, the soundtrack that got him through long shifts and ordinary days. You've probably done it yourself, singing along to the radio in the car, humming your favorite song while you work. For most of us, that's where it ends, but every now and then, Richard would let go. In empty hallways, when the school was silent and no one was around to hear, he would sing, really sing, the kind of singing that comes straight from the heart, and slowly, quietly, word started to spread. The students heard him, the teachers heard him, someone would catch him mid-song and stop in their tracks, stunned that this powerful, soaring voice was coming from the man who cleaned their classrooms. They loved it. They encouraged him. And little clips of the singing janitor began to travel, first around the school, then around the town. But here's the part of the story we don't talk about enough. For years, Richard didn't chase a bigger stage, and it's worth asking, why not? Maybe it was that quiet voice we all know, the one that whispers, "You're too old for this, it's too late for you." People like you don't get moments like that. Think about it. By this point in his life, Richard wasn't a teenager with the whole world ahead of him. He was a man who had already lived decades, who had worked hard, faced setbacks, and built a life that was steady, if not spectacular. And that's exactly what makes what happened next so powerful, because somewhere along the way, Richard made a decision. Instead of letting the doubt win, instead of accepting that his big moment had already passed him by, he decided to take a chance. He decided to sing, not just for the empty hallways, but for the whole world. And so, the day came. Picture the scene. A massive stage, blinding lights, an enormous audience packed into every seat, and out in front, a panel of judges who had seen thousands of hopefuls come and go. Into all of that walked a man who, just days earlier, had been mopping the floors of a middle school. You can only imagine what was going through his mind. The nerves, the heartbeat pounding in his ears. That impossible gap between an empty hallway back home and a stage in front of millions of people. The judges asked him about himself, and he told them the simple truth, that he was a janitor from a small town in Indiana, and that singing was something he'd loved his whole life. And here's what makes moments like this so human. You could feel the doubt in the air, not cruelty, just that quiet, honest uncertainty. This unassuming man, in front of this enormous crowd. What was about to happen? Then the music started, and Richard opened his mouth. What came out wasn't just good. It wasn't just impressive. It was the kind of voice that stops time. Powerful, soaring, full of every emotion a person can carry after a lifetime of quiet dreams. The transformation was instant. That uncertainty in the room, it vanished. In its place came astonishment. The audience jumped to their feet. The judges' faces lit up with disbelief and joy. People were crying. Strangers were hugging. Because they weren't just hearing a great singer. They were watching a dream come true. Live, right in front of them. They were watching a man who had waited his whole life for this exact moment, and who had just proven, beyond any doubt, that he belonged there. In a matter of minutes, the singing janitor from Terre Haute went from complete unknown to someone the entire world was talking about. And that audition, it was only the beginning Overnight, the clip of Richard's performance began to spread like wildfire. Millions of views, countless shares, people from all over the world, watching this humble man sing his heart out, and feeling something stir inside them. Why did it resonate so deeply? Because Richard wasn't polished, he wasn't packaged, he was real. And in a world full of no's, real is rare. People saw themselves in him. The overlooked worker, the late bloomer, the person carrying a dream they'd never quite dared to chase. Round after round, Richard kept coming back. And every time, the pressure grew. The stakes got higher. The stages got bigger. For a man who had spent his life out of the spotlight, every single performance was a mountain to climb. But he kept climbing, and something beautiful happened along the way. With each performance, you could see him grow. The nervous janitor from the first audition slowly became a performer who owned the stage. He started to believe in himself, maybe for the first time in his life. Back home, his town rallied behind him. Neighbors, students, co-workers, the people who had known him all along, watched with pride as their singing janitor became a national sensation. He wasn't just chasing his own dream anymore. He was carrying the hopes of an entire community with him. And with every note, one question grew louder and louder in the minds of millions of viewers. Could he actually go all the way? Finally, the night arrived, the finale, the moment everything had been building toward. Millions of people around the world were watching. Everything Richard had worked for, every quiet song in an empty hallway, every ounce of courage it took to step onto that stage, all of it came down to this. And when the result was announced, Richard Goodall, the middle school janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, was named the winner of America's Got Talent Season 19 champion, and along with the title came a life-changing prize, $1 million. Just let that sink in for a second. A man who, not long before, had been cleaning cafeterias for a living, was now national champion with $1 million prize and the love of millions of people around the world. But maybe the most inspiring part of Richard's story isn't the money, or the fame, or the trophy. It's the fact that fame didn't seem to change who he was. This was a man who had built his life on humility and hard work, and even in the middle of an incredible whirlwind, he stayed grounded, grateful, and true to himself. His victory wasn't just a win for him, it was a win for every single person who has ever been overlooked, for everyone who has ever wondered if it was too late, for everyone quietly holding on to a dream they were too afraid to say out loud. Because Richard proved that the person mopping the floor, serving the food, driving the bus, that person might just be carrying a gift powerful enough to change their entire life. So what can we take away from the story of the singing janitor? Maybe it's this: it is never, ever too late to become who you were meant to be. We live in a world that constantly tells us we've missed our chance, that dreams belong to the young, that if it hasn't happened yet, it never will. Richard Goodall's story is living proof that none of that is true. The dream you're holding onto right now, the one you've been too scared to chase, it's still alive. It's still waiting for you. All it needs is the courage to take that first step. Richard waited most of his life for his moment. And when it came, he didn't let fear win. He sang. And the whole world listened. So let his story be your reminder today. Dreams don't have an age limit. They only need someone brave enough to believe in them. If this story moved you, do me a quick favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another incredible story like this one. And in the comments below, tell me, what's the dream you're finally ready to chase? Thank you so much for watching. And remember, your moment might be closer than you think.